Hey everyone, Chrissy here today. I'm going to show you how to make these zipper themed cards using a bunch of Gina K and Thermoweb supplies. You can see these are both fun. You're able to use the same supplies over and over again, but create multiple cards. So the first thing I did was I protected my surface and I cut a panel of 3 3/4 by 5 inches. It's just a piece of white premium cardstock. I secured it down with washi tape and then I secured the stencil down over it. So I'm using some of this embossing paste and I just put a little bit down with my palette knife, and then I have like an old t-shirt that I cut up, and so I'm just kind of rubbing it around with the t-shirt. Now you can use your fingers, you can use paper towels too. I've done both. I just like the t-shirt because it keeps my fingers less messy and it blends nicer than the paper towel. And then on top of it, I used the silver just to add a little bit of dimension and a little bit of color. I kind of wanted to blend it. I chose the colors of this embossing mousse to match the Gina K inks. They coordinate kind of with them, and then also just to kind of go with them. So that's how I chose my background. So I laid that Gina K die down on a piece of paper and just gently traced around it. I wanted to give it a guide to where I would be stamping the zipper. Had I die cut it first and then stamped it, I could have had stamping impression problems because there are those cute little stitches around the corners, and I actually wanted the zipper images to be going off of the edge of the die. So I figured I'd stamp first and cut later. So this set is no longer available. I will try to find something and link to it so you at least get an idea of what I did, but this particular one is not available anymore. But it's also super easy to draw those little lines and draw a zipper. So even though you can't stamp it, you could definitely draw it, and it's very, very easy. So you can see I just went and I die cut it, and then here's the little zipper piece. It was just a quick 2-step stamp, and so I'm just trimming that out. Super fast, takes me like 5 seconds. And now that die cut piece that I ran through my die cutting machine after I stamped, I am just using some of this Gina K ink to go ahead and I want to soften that die. I felt the white was a little too harsh. I wanted it to go along with the background a little bit more, so I just gently used my blending tool to go over the whole die, and then around the edges I made it darker. So in order to make it darker, I just kept adding more layers of ink. So I pressed a little bit harder as well, but you can keep going nice and light in circular motions, and the more ink you add, the darker it gets. Now here, it doesn't look like it's blending that well, but actually as the ink dries, it looks really nice, and it just fades nicely from dark to light, that light being in the center. So then I also decided that that wasn't enough for me, and I wanted to do a little bit of splattering. So I stamped some of the ink onto an acrylic block there, and I just grabbed a water brush and I just started flicking. So that way I have a little bit of color, and I also have a little bit of water, because as the color wore off, then I just had kind of plain white flecks. And you can see there, as the water hit it, it also removed some of the color. So I just think that's a really neat effect, because you have a couple spots where it's light and then a couple spots where it's really dark, where just the ink is. So then I just went and I stamped these cute little sentiments on there. Now I have a piece of toner paper. This toner paper is great because you can add foil to it if you want. You can go ahead and die cut it. You can do whatever the heck you want. So I just trimmed it to 3.5 by about 2.5. I did not use the larger die from the same rectangle set from Gina K because I didn't want the double stitching. I didn't want the stitching on the background piece as well as on my top piece, because I really wanted that top piece to stand out. So I basically just trimmed it, and then I threw it through my laminator using the iridescent Deco foil just to give like a nice little frame around that earlier piece that we worked on. So, and it's also peel and stick, which is great because you don't have to worry about using any additional adhesive. So for this background panel that we made, I secured with the 3D foam, and then that other piece, that is the peel and stick toner sheet that we did. It's got the iridescent on it. And then that first panel that we made there, that little piece, I just secured that along with the zipper using 3D foam squares. This has a lot of dimension, a lot of thickness, a lot of texture. It's a fantastic card, super easy to make. Look, I even made 3. It went so fast. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and make sure to check us out on Facebook.